Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Yvonne here from My Halal Kitchen. I have a very, very special guest for you today, Zainab Ismail, founder of Fit for Allah. Assalamu alaikum, Zainab. Thank you so much.
Walaikum salam. Thank you for having me, Yvonne. It's such a pleasure, and I'm very humbled to be here with you.
Oh, you've humbled me by just agreeing to come and share all your knowledge and wisdom with our audience today. For those of you who don't know, Zainab is a friend of mine. We've known each other for several years, and in those years, Allah's put a lot of barakah in our time together. I cherish the moments that we've had and learned so much from you in such short times, short spurts. We've done was it Halal Festival? Halal Fest in Chicago together. Did
I
some
heart halal.
Halal, yes. Did some interesting cooking and talk about fitness and so on and so forth. So I'm going to let you explain to people a little bit more about your work in prophetic nutrition and fitness, because that's why we're here today, to talk about prophetic foods and lifestyle. And we're in the blessed month of Hija. You know so much about this and how we can maximize the benefits of this time. So I'm going to just ask some questions, but you're the one with all the information and knowledge to share with us. So I would encourage our audience to ask questions, and we will try to answer those throughout the program and afterwards. So Zainab, please enlighten us about how you got into this field of prophetic nutrition and fitness and why. And
Alhamdulillah. So really, it's part of my journey as being a convert revert to Islam. I've been Muslim now for 12 years. So the school where I began my official studies of obligatory knowledge and the different sciences of Islam was at the Mecca Center. So there was a monthly ladies halakha, a sisters circle, and the coordinator of the sister circle just was like, "Oh, you're new. What do where are you from? Are you Muslim? Have you been Muslim? How long?" And then when she discovered what I did for a living, she was like, "Oh my goodness, you need to come and teach us." And I was so shy at that time, because I was a really new Muslim, and I was like, "Okay."
And this is in New York, sorry?
Yes, this is in New York City.
Okay.
And one of the key foundational things that we had learned in our classes with our teachers is that everything is by your intentions. So I was thinking, okay, well, how am I going to teach this? We have to name it, because they would name every class.
Sure.
So I was like, okay, I have to name it something that is relative to the intentions. And then that's where Fit for Allah was born.
Oh, and nice story.
Yeah, alhamdulillah. So in that process, as I was studying, we were covering very early on in my first year of being Muslim, we were covering the books of Imam Ghazali and Imam Haddad, which then led me to the Seerah of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, as well as the Shama'il. The Shama'il is a compilation of narrations or hadiths that relay the character of the Prophet ﷺ and how he conducted his life, what he ate, what he drank, how he broke his fast, every detail of his outward characteristics. So as I was learning, all of these things were just kind of coming together. Then we would come to Ramadan and I would just see something was off or missing. I'm like, why?
Not aligned.
Yeah, it wasn't aligned. I was like, why is there so much food? Or,
unhealthy food too.
I mean, it's hard, people have their cultural choices. So I try not to, I'm not going to take it away from you, but let's add to whatever you're having and add nourishing foods, because ultimately everyone has so many good things from their cultures. So, it's about that balance, striking that balance. So nonetheless, in that pursuit of basically just helping people strike that balance, and as I was studying these certain books that encompassed a lot of the prophetic nutrition, it just was a happy marriage that started to blend. And as I was starting to learn more from certain teachers, they encouraged me, like Sheikh Hamza Yusuf always encouraged me, Imam Said Shakir always encouraged me, several of our senior teachers, Dr. Umar Farouk Abdullah.
MashaAllah, you were on the right people, the right teachers.
Well, by Allah, it's all by Allah, So being with those teachers that basically I had adult tarbiyah, nurturing. And so it was like I was a child in Islam, but as an adult. So they really helped nurture and cultivate the direction that I should be traveling in and going in with this learning. And from that, it just continued. I studied with different teachers of Islamic medicine.
Wow, I love that topic so much. It's fascinating.
And just really, again, from our teachers, I remember I was the first time I taught with one of my teachers, Sheikh Walid Musad, and it was at a small one-day class conference called Conscious Consumption. And I was so nervous because I'd never taught like sitting on the same platform with one of the teachers, like the scholars. So
scholars,
I was so nervous. And then when it was and he had never seen me present. So, and he was scared, I was always so scared because, I would feel shy. And subhanAllah, I was like, oh, please, Allah, don't let him sit in the front when I have to speak. And
sure enough, he did.
He was not in the front, but I could just see him dead and center. And subhanAllah, after the class, he was like, that was excellent. This is how we should be reviving the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. And then he talked about it in the class. So I was so shy about it. And really, Sheikh Walid Musad was who encouraged me to say prophetic inspired nutrition, because many of the foods clearly are not exactly what they were like 1400 plus years ago. So it's been different teachers that have just guided me along the way. Alhamdulillah.
Oh, I have so many questions for you because this is probably my favorite topic on earth. And I have just watched you evolve over the years in your Instagram. For everybody watching, you have to follow Zainab on Instagram. It's Zainab_Fit for Allah.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And I just feel like you give these snippets of information about ways that we can break our fasts, ways that we should fast, or the foods that we eat during certain times of the year, the months. I mean, I can't, I think people just need to go and see what you do, because you're such an example of living the sunnah, but reviving it is what you just said a minute ago is what is happening. And you mentioned 7 books in your Instagram feed that you recommend to people. I just have one of them, Medicine of the Prophet. It's blowing here. I've had this book for several years. I had an original copy that wasn't a good not original copy, but I had an earlier version that wasn't a great translation. And then I found this one, and I think
that's my favorite.
Yeah, but I feel like I need a little bit of guidance when I'm reading these books. So what do you suggest in your book recommendations? Do you suggest people have a teacher to go through these, because they're kind of, you can read them and extract,
right?
But they're not.
It's definitely our faith is not open up and read and interpret on your own.
Exactly. So, that's the danger of anything, right?
Yeah.
This is scholarly. This is deep. This is. It's not just, let me just go and do this, right? We really need. So please.
As we learn from our teachers, for the most part, because if any of my teachers are watching this, I definitely know that I listen to this lesson constantly. Every science or book or text, especially if it's something written many centuries ago, ideally should be covered with a qualified teacher that has what's called isnad or sanad, chain of narration going
Mhm.
back from scholar to scholar to scholar to scholar to the author of that text, and then obviously to our real source, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Oh, I never said them.
So if that's not available, because now during this time of COVID and the pandemic, in person wasn't really available for most of us.
Sure.
Many of the popular or commonly covered text, there are several lessons from different qualified teachers on YouTube, on Seeker's Guidance, on different platforms that though people can benefit from. So
Mhm.
it's just a matter of which book, you can cover certain books, and there are lessons online from different qualified scholars. But let's just say none of that is available.
Okay.
Really, ultimately, especially for myself, because I've been a nutritionist for 27 plus years now, this was just an awakening, because
Mhm.
many of the things that do stem from the prophetic tradition are things in holistic nutrition that we've always implemented. So,
Right. Just
so
didn't
the
know that
benefit,
it was prophetic.
exactly,
Right.
exactly. So certain foods, even in the holistic side of things, have the same benefits or similar
Mhm.
benefits. So the information was easier to grasp, of course, along with learning from different teachers. The first place that I would always start and recommend to every household is to have a copy of the Shama'il al-Tirmidhi, which Imam Ghazali Institute has a very beautiful published translation with two amazing scholars that did the actual translation and added very amazing commentary. And one of the scholars, Sheikh Muhammad Aslam, there are lessons of his from the UK on YouTube, so you can go
Okay.
through. But ideally, the beautiful thing about the Shama'il is that the tradition is to at least auditorily hear a full Arabic transmission in person from a qualified teacher that has the ijaza, or the qualification to give that transmission. But
That's
again,
so
that's
important.
not available for everyone. So that would be the first book that I would start, because it is simple enough to understand what is being explained in English. And there's commentary on the sides of the pages of the book to really kind of dive into, well, let's just say in particular, if we're talking about the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam ate cucumber and fresh dates, then it will have there'll be commentary on the sides to explain, well, how did he do that? Let's just say, for
Mhm.
argument's sake,
Ah.
or let's just say how he combed his beard with oil, or what oil he would put in his hair, how
Mhm. Mhm.
frequently, these types of things, these
Little
specifics.
details.
Yes, the details
Yeah.
are in the commentary on the side.
It's amazing we even have those still.
Mm-hmm.
That's a very precious knowledge. And I've been studying Islam for almost 20 years, and these are things I did not know. I didn't even know they were accessible. I didn't know that they were out there. I mean, I've known about the foods, for example, the cucumber and dates, but I didn't know there was a book that would detail this out. And so, for those of you watching and interested in this list of books, I will create a blog post with this video and put the recommendations in here based on what Zainab has given us. But for the sake of time and moving on, I think that what you've studied has been very interesting. And I don't, if someone wanted to do what you're doing, would they enter a certain course or program, or do you teach people? How does that work for people who want to dive a little deeper into the prophetic nutrition?
So based on what's available, I think that there's several programs of Unani Tib, or Islamic medicine, available through several of the reputable Hakims that are all located in the UK. Those are the ones that are the most accessible, like Hakim Salim Khan. He has a college of courses, and they dive more into the realm of herbology
Oh,
and
interesting.
certain approach with the emphasis on the four temperaments, and
Oh,
really,
wow.
um, going specifically to what a person's temperament and humor is, and
Yes.
that's diving into Islamic medicine. And you would see that
Wow.
in the book Medicine of the Prophet, when they talk
Right.
about hot and cold and the
Yes.
different
That's
degrees.
right.
So
Right. They do that. That's what you mean by humors.
right. So Islamic medicine would be a bit of a different track. Prophetic nutrition in particular, there isn't any formalized learning other than the Shama'il Tirmidhi, which is really where you learn the foundation of what the Prophet ﷺ did, what he recommended. If someone was eating it and he didn't really say anything, that meant it was okay. So that would be
Right.
included. So
Sure.
the sunnah and actions of the Prophet ﷺ doesn't just mean exactly what he did, it's what he also recommended. And
Mhm.
if he approved of it,
If
it's
approved of it.
all
Right.
encompassing
Right.
in that.
This is
I myself, I work with clients privately. I have coached people that do want to start to learn. I think for myself, having had such an extensive background in nutrition already,
yeah.
that allowed me to excel much quicker
Sure.
in being able to, put this together in my own way,
Of course.
because none of this is really that, other than the things that are like specifically listed within the shamal, for example, the cucumber with fresh dates. But let's just say the way that I make the prophetic drink has been my own, or not my own, by Allah, the inspiration that I've gotten
Sure.
to do it in that manner, to combine more hadiths and blessings and openings. So I can work with people privately, which, occasionally I'll take one or two clients on that are looking to do that. And I do suggest that someone really have a foundation of being a nutritionist or dietitian as already,
Sure. Sure.
because just the foundation of nutrition would have to be present for you to just really excel within this, unless you're in a degreed program, like I said, in Islamic medicine, where they do touch on the foods, but it's more going to be very specific to each person, more
Sure.
individualized. And my expression of prophetic nutrition is really more in the direction of not just the food, it's
The
really a
lifestyle.
tool to connect to the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and a way to love the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam.
Yeah.
Because to love him is to know him, and to know him is to love him. So it goes beyond the food. It's the spiritual unseen aspect of what it does for the heart.
That leads me to my next couple of questions, because you also cover lifestyle things, and your Instagram is beautiful. I keep referring to it because it's the most visual, piece of you that I can get daily. And for someone like myself who is looking to just take those tidbits of information and try to incorporate prophetic foods into my world every day, with the intention of, now, I'll be honest with you, I'd never really put the pieces of the puzzle together until recently, in few conversations with you, actually, that these were definitely tools to get closer to Allah. And can you touch on that? I mean, how the average person who's not going to be studying this on a deep level, but just, wants to be conscious and awake and aware of what they're putting in their bodies and follow this prophetic way, how and why? Why does it work? I guess is my first question.
So the first thing is, prophetic nutrition works to the degree you believe in the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. That's the core of it. This is the prophetic message. So it's really, depending where someone is in their own journey to Allah, the first place we start, which is the most healing, is the prayer. So let's assume you're praying 5 times a day. Let's assume you're praying on time. And this is, say, what the teachers recommend. Okay, praying your 5 daily prayers, praying them on time. Try to pray them as soon as you can. Let's just say in the first 10 minutes. Okay, you're praying your sunnahs.
Very important, right? This timeliness.
Yes, all of this is like your foundation. And prophetic nutrition serves as a healing for your heart, for your soul, for what might be going on in your life, because you're making those intentions to imitate the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, to gain from the healing benefits that he recommended, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and really take from the message of what he has done, not just look at it from the outward aspect. So that's why I never ever say, well, I never use the word diet, because really,
it's more lifestyle.
I've never adhered to any fad diets or anything or any of that stuff, or I don't adhere to any of that, the gimmicky clickbait or any of that stuff. This is really about when you're in the grave and your deeds, when you got your good deeds, or when it's time for you in Ramadan or now in Dhul Hijjah to know what to do, how to connect to Allah and the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. It's really to keep your mind, keep you God conscious, keep you Allah conscious, keep you Prophet conscious, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And it's like anything else. It's like if it's like the 5 people that you're around, that's how you know who someone is. Like, are you always talking about Allah? Are you talking about the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam? And it's never in a harsh way, because the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was never harsh. There is no harshness in the way of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, because if anyone, like, that's why sometimes when people write, oh, don't this, the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam never spoke like that. So really
it's gentle.
It's a way to soften and encourage somebody to be more gentle, whether it be with themselves, whether it be with their families. It softens the heart because you're making that intention, when you're going to make something, even if it's like,
And doesn't the world need more of that, especially right now?
Yes. Yeah.
More of that love.
We want to make wudu before we make anything. Even if you're just making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, make wudu. Make intentions, make a dua, let this be something that's healing, because our one body is an amana between us and Allah.
Yes. I think that even before I was Muslim, I had read, like the body is a temple, for example. Like that was the belief. And I really thought, well, that makes sense. God gave this to us and we need to treat it right. And that's how I kind of got into the health food, interests of, just taking care of the one body we were given. And then after becoming Muslim and realizing, wow, this body is a trust from Allah and will be asked on the Day of Judgment, like, what did you put in it? How did you treat it? Everything has a right. Your body has a right on you. It really changes perspective of, taking your ego out of it and saying, hey, this doesn't even belong to me, actually.
It is that mindset. It is that cognitive frame. It doesn't mean just random. That's why it's not a diet. Prophetic nutrition is more of a spiritual, has more of a spiritual component more than anything else. Because when you're cooking, you might be reading Quran, like reciting Quran, listening to the Quran, doing some dhikr, doing some adhkar, doing some salawat. It's meant to enhance you throughout the day from a spiritual component, and also again keep you conscious of Allah at all times and the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam.
Real food for the soul. When I started studying the Ottoman Empire and the kitchens of the sultans, and
they're amazing.
Like I was really, really intrigued and fascinated that food in the court would be based on the sunnah, and that certain people, and I'm not going to be exact when I'm saying this because I read it a long time ago. I don't have like the exact history, but in general, what I understood was that the chefs, the sultan's chefs, would cook food also according to particular people's needs, like if they had a certain illness or they needed strength in a certain way.
That's like the temperament.
So they followed this Islamic medicine as well as the sunnah of the foods. And I'm sure that went around, the months and all of it, all kinds of stuff. I mean, I didn't know until watching your Instagram page, for example, we're in Dhul Hijjah right now. I understand it in a general view, but you make me realize like, I have so much more to learn. And, it's humbling.
Everything
It's
has
humbling.
its time.
Everything has
Islam
its
is an
time.
ocean, and it's just another veil Allah has to lift for you. So,
Yes,
each year
yes.
the goal is to improve just a little bit each year. So,
Well, I think my focus has been on halal, obviously. That's the entire MO of my work, but the tayyib part was always there too. Like, yeah, I'm not just trying to slap a label on something saying, yeah, it's halal, eat it. I'm looking at, okay, the purity of it.
mhm.
Now I feel like there's this other level, this soulful level, this spiritual level that, and I'll tell you from just a practical standpoint, I sort of cleaned out my entire kitchen, my pantry, and I looked at everything and I said, I have way too many things. I have way too many spices. I have way too many products. And I think I was feeling overwhelmed. I was like,
right.
because I cook, I do recipe testing, recipe development, but it became too much. It was like the computer hard drive is about to wear out. But I got stressed because I said, well, I have this work to do. I have to create recipes. And then I just had a talk with myself and said, wait a second. What am I trying to do here? Slow it down and simplify for me right now. Like my mental health, my spirituality is important because I can't do my work unless I get this together.
Right.
And then I think that's when, I won't say that's when I started resonating, but I think the message you were sending out was becoming clearer to me.
Alhamdulillah.
I'd always
our
seen
souls are connected, though.
Yeah.
You are my sister.
Mashallah. You, on a personal note, just have the words that you have given to me over the years have just stuck. Nothing that you have said has been in vain, and I've just absorbed and I realized I really want to go deeper on this path of even with the eating. I understand. I'm looking when I talk to people about the sacrifice in Islam. Like the when we get our meats and stuff, and the importance of not wasting any part of that animal that was sacrificing, the importance of knowing where our food comes from and so on. But there's so much more that you are talking about that makes me feel the soul is more at peace with. And I think that the Dhul Hijjah that we're in right now is one of those times that you're talking more about that on your Instagram. And can you just tell us, whether it's with the way we're eating or fasting or, just living these 10 days. Well, now we're less than that, but
we're in the third day now.
Right. So what can we do? How do we really pay attention to these types of things throughout the year? In every month, for example, the Islamic calendar months, and particularly right now, what can we do to feel more conscious, to feel more aware?
Really simple. First thing is, I think that it's important to know what the Islamic months are. So some of the different, adhan apps, they have a way that you can sync the Islamic calendar with your Gregorian calendar so that you can see where you are.
Google does it. My Google calendar has it.
Okay, there you go. So, and also making a habit, which is from the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, go out when it's soon to be the new month and look for the new moon with your own eyes. It may take a day or two or three. I'm personally obsessed with sighting the moon because I think the moon is the most beautiful thing, especially it just has so much significance in Islam. I mean, the Prophet ﷺ is said to be more beautiful than the moon. And the moon, when you look at it, just imagine gazing, if the Prophet ﷺ was in front of you, that he's even more beautiful than even the moon.
And we tend to only really look for it in Ramadan, but you're suggesting that we do it.
No, it's sunnah all year round.
Wow.
I mean, every month has a significance. Now, this month is one of the sacred months. So there are
Dhul
3
Hijjah.
sacred months that are together. That was the one that just finished, Dhul Qa'dah, now Dhul Hijjah, and then the third is Muharram, and then the 4th month that's on its own, closer to Ramadan, is Rajab. So this is the blessed month of the Hajj. So in this time, the Prophet ﷺ, and there's different narrations, would fast all 9 days of the first 10 days culminates at the end with Eid al-Adha, which is when we do the Eid sacrifice or Qurbani, Uthiya. So it said that the Prophet ﷺ would fast all these 9 first days of Dhul Hijjah, or most of them, or some of them. So the goal really is to focus on trying to fast as much as you can, but the most important day to fast is on the 9th day of Dhul Hijjah, which is the day of Arafah.
And why?
That is the day, and along with other things, that is the day that the pilgrims are on Arafat, supplicating all day long, which is, we should be mimicking what the pilgrims are doing in Hajj, but that is the day that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala frees the most people from the fire. And may Allah make us among those that are freed from the fire on the day of Arafat. So that is a special day to fast, to be in a state of worship, make dua for everything under the sun that you can ever think of. The same way you basically prepare for Dhul Hijjah like it's a Ramadan, because these are the most blessed 10 days of the entire year.
And we need to take advantage of it.
These are the most blessed 10 days. I will say that over and over. The most blessed 10 days. And in Ramadan, we have the most blessed 10 nights, and that's the last 10 nights of Ramadan. So in these days, and the same was for Dhul Qa'dah, our good deeds are multiplied and our sins are multiplied. So this is a month, and in these 10 days, it's really be hyper vigilant to really guard your limbs. Make sure that you are on point with your worship as much as possible, because for everything you do that is sinful, that's multiplied. And everything you do that's good is also multiplied. So it's another time that Allah gives us, there's no real structure to it. Allah gives us kind of like, it's a blessing. Allah's like, here are these beautiful 9 days, maximize your reward, and I will give you abundant reward and blessings in return. And with fasting, it puts you in a state. And also, I myself, I've never fasted outside of just day of Arafat. So this is the first time, alhamdulillah, I've made the intentions to fast the entire 9 days, inshallah. May I be able to make it. I'm on day 3.
Ameen. May Allah accept your fast.
Ameen. And I could tell you that obviously it's not Ramadan, but it feels like a Ramadan. Getting up for suhoor and having iftar, and trying to focus more on worship.
This is also the first year that it's come to my consciousness as well, that it feels a bit like a Ramadan if we make it. It seems like there's a little bit of a collective consciousness going on around it. You've definitely been responsible for that. In my world, at least, and mashallah, may Allah reward you for that.
Imam Omar Suleiman has a beautiful series on Dhul Hijjah, on the first 10 days of Dhul Hijjah. He did one last year that was beautiful, and he's already doing a different one, which is focusing on the Hajj of the Prophet ﷺ, or his journey. So I definitely highly recommend it. It's short, 10-15 minute videos, so it really keeps you plugged in. There's only 60,000 people right now that have been selected to be Hajj.
Yeah, because of COVID, right? Usually there's a million.
I did Hajj, alhamdulillah, in 2018, and it was an incredible. That also has really put into my heart the importance of Dhul Hijjah after doing Hajj as well.
For sure. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala invite us.
Ameen.
I have never been. So.
Yeah. Inshallah, may Allah invite you to the sacred cities, because being in Mecca and Medina, there's nothing like it. And speaking of, back to one of your original questions, my first Umrah was in 2014 on Sacred Caravan with Sheikh Hamza Yusuf. When I
That must
first
be
went to
lovely.
Medina and I put my forehead down on the ground in the Rauda, which is in the presence of where the Prophet ﷺ is buried,
Right.
Abu Bakr Siddiq is, and Umar ibn Khattab, they're all buried there. That is the moment I tasted this beautiful religion. It was being in the presence of the Prophet ﷺ. And from that moment, that's what really catapulted me in this direction, because ultimately for
Wow.
me, I don't care about the dunya. I care about my akhirah and my time in the grave.
I think there is something to be said for a couple of things you mentioned. You know, I can't make the comparison because I haven't been there, but I think I'm taking baby steps. Going to Turkey. When I went to Ayub Sultan, I went twice.
One of the Sahaba.
I don't like to usually visit places twice when I'm touring or traveling, but I didn't realize that the importance of this place. I had no idea. And friends took me there, and there was something so special. Well, there's also a piece of hair of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu there.
Well, the Turkish are the best, and the Ottomans have been the best to maintain all of the relics from the time of the Prophet ﷺ in Topkapi Palace. I mean, mashallah.
There's some kind of energy field there that is so palpable that I can only imagine being in Mecca, Medina, being that much more. So it was sort of like my introduction to the next steps, but I wanted to go back and back again. Inshallah, I will go back to this place, and there's so many more. And it helped me to sort of realize that life needs to be edited and simplified. And I still struggle with how to do that. So I do have one question, because you do talk about, lifestyle in your Instagram a lot. How do you turn off the distractions and simplify life? How do you get rid of the clutter, visual, mental, physical, emotional? How do you just take it out, or do you push it away, or what do you do to stay conscious?
I mean, I think it's really important to have very good people and good company around you, and be able to, obviously a lot of us can't attend gatherings in person, but you have to have your teachers close. You have to attend gatherings of knowledge. You have to be around people that are the lovers of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, are people that are very Allah conscious. So if one is disconnected from that, it makes it much harder, because Shaitan is real. And the pull from all these different directions, it's like being unprotected. So I think that's the first thing, is being connected and having good company. And when I say good company that reminds you of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That's essential to success in this life to get us to the next. Second, if you're not near teachers, is taking classes online, whether it be something formal, that it's like a 4 to 8 week kind of thing, that you cover a text online, let's just say like on Seeker's Guidance, or on Maqasid, or Rabata. There's several, reputable, beautiful organizations that have many different options. It's then at least then watching YouTube videos from these same teachers. I wouldn't go into Sheikh Google. I wouldn't just randomly Google questions and Google things, because you won't know if you haven't really studied, or if it's not something that you're really familiar with. You won't know what you're looking at and who you're looking at. And so there's a host of things online. So it's meant to be like, okay, well, here are certain teachers. Let me see what they have online, and let me at least watch a 30-minute video a day, something like that. So that's staying connected in that way. In terms of the other aspects, I mean, some days or some weeks, some months are better than others. For me personally, Salawat is a big component of for myself. I mean, salawat is known to, as we learn from our teachers, reduce. Again, we never will negate the need for mental health care, but regular salawat and dhikr, reduces the feelings of anxiety, of panic, of depression, these types of things, because
So important.
it's what it does to your soul. It just really calms the heart. So salawat is really a big component for me personally. It's very calming.
And that means
it takes me directly to being in front of the green dome. So
for people who
alhamdulillah.
don't know what salawat is, can you just explain that?
Salawat are, sorry that I use the Arabic
Okay.
terminology.
No. It's okay.
It's sending prayers and blessings on the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, peace and blessings be upon him. There's many different variations. There's shorter versions, longer versions. So again, but that's assuming that your prayer is on point.
Right. There's so much to really work on in our lives, right?
Because it would be really hard to manifest change without the foundation being present. Another game changer. I mean, I'm going to just say it this way. It's really the way we learn from our teachers. Nothing changes until, really that your prayer is solid. And then, taking on something like tahajjud, even if tahajjud is the night prayer, even if it's 2 units of prayer, 2 rakahs, 15 minutes before Fajr, the first morning prayer comes in. It's just really hard to look for change if we're not doing the bare minimum for Allah.
So let's say there's people who are like, look, I'm just, I can barely just eat healthy food, let alone, like they're doing what they can. Maybe their prayers are all over the place. How would you just get somebody to just start fresh and get on an easy path to getting the prayer right, the food right, the things like that?
Reminding them first and foremost, don't be so hard on yourself. The door to Allah is always open. As long as you don't associate partners with Allah, you're good to go. The door is always open. Never feel that you're too sinful or too off the track and all of this sounds like so overwhelming and so much, and you're so far from that. Never think that Allah isn't going to lift that veil and make this all easy for you. And dua, supplication is always from sincerity, from your heart, sincere intentions and dua. Allah will slowly facilitate. It's like if you walk to Allah, Allah will come running
to you.
So it's just a matter of just taking those first baby steps in whatever it is and being consistent, because that which is most pleasing to Allah is that which is done consistently, even if it's little. So let's just say it's someone who's not praying at all. At least let's start with one prayer. Fajr is, hard for a lot of people. So maybe you don't start with Fajr. Maybe you start with Isha, the last prayer of the night, which you have a lot more leeway and time of when to do it.
Right.
But, the beginning of your day or the end of your day is always the place to start, because either you're going to start your day in that way or you're going to be able to sleep at night much more tranquil.
Right.
So that's
either one is,
that's kind of how we start. Even with someone who's new to Islam, we start little by little. New Muslims always want to go like, gung ho head first, but it's like, slow down. There's no race. There's no when you have to. The main thing is that you're striving, and you don't have to compare yourself to anyone else. It doesn't matter if you're born Muslim or not born Muslim. It's meet yourself where you are. Don't compare yourself to anyone else. And again, the door to Allah is always open. And the best door to Allah is through the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He's the most beloved to Allah, Habibullah. So sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that's really why prophetic nutrition, it turns the heart easier to then come closer to Allah. So that all these things that the teachers say all the time, you're like, how different can it be? What difference is it going to make? Until you start doing it, you're like, wow, it really does make a difference. All these, making intentions, always being a wudu, it's a
that's a
protection,
big
it's a
one.
healing, going to
That's a big
sleep,
one.
in wudu and doing there's so many little beautiful sunnahs to protect us and ease our day. It's just a matter of picking one or two things that you can do consistently.
Yeah. I have to say, one of my favorite things that you do on your Instagram is soaking the ajwa dates in water. You make a drink out of that, right?
Yes, that's the prophetic drink, which is also known as Nabiz, which is the formal name in all of the prophetic medicine books. So initially, it is not made initially, like, it's not in the books that it's specifically ajwa dates. But why use ajwa dates is specifically 7 ajwa dates, because the person that eats 7 ajwa dates first thing in the morning is protected from all evil for that day. And that day being from Fajr to Maghrib. And when I say protected from all evil, it's like if you're someone that experiences waswasa, distraction, whatever, it's like you are shielded.
Wow.
But again, remember, everything works. Prophetic nutrition works according to how you believe in the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So, all
you can't
of this,
just do it and then be, distracted and not conscious about it and just,
you're doing it with that intention.
You're doing it consciously and intentionally.
Yes.
So is it drinking just the water or actually eating all 7 of the dates?
So let's just say you don't have ajwa dates, because most people don't have access to ajwa dates. You can use 50 to 100 grams of any dates or raisins. And just so that they dissolve better, always remove the pit, the seed from the inside. So take the date and the pit, put them both in a container, ideally glass. And then whether it's, let's just say we're doing the 7 ajwa dates, we're going to put the 7 dates and the 7 pits in a glass container. I use mason jars. And then we put anywhere from 12 to 16 ounces of water. And because, alhamdulillah, I've been to Mecca, Medina a couple of times, I have Zamzam water. So I put a little dash of Zamzam water, as we've learned from our teachers, even a couple of drops of Zamzam, then it's all Zamzam.
Right.
So
and then
you're always replenishing.
You soak it overnight?
And then you soak it. I prefer to do it like from Asr time until Fajr, because the nights are short now with these summer hours.
Sure.
So I like to set up my like around 5 p.m. I'll set up 6 p.m. I'll set up my prophetic drink so that it's ready for, 3:30 in the morning.
Oh, okay. So you're having it before your fasting day.
Yes. So I generally, that's what I have pretty much every day for suhoor, until if it's one off day, I'm not in the mood for it. I'll have watermelon, which is also from the prophetic tradition and the number one food to have when fasting or dehydrated, because it's one of the most hydrating foods. It's 92% water, and it's extremely hydrating and excellent for you in so many different ways.
So back to the ajwa drink.
Yeah.
Do you drink the water?
You drink the water, and then you have the mushy dates left. So you can eat them, or you can mix them with some fruit or something like that, and then make like a little smoothie, something like that.
That's
so that's
a good
what
idea.
I do.
That's a good idea.
So for the most part, if I am going to do 7 ajwa dates throughout the year, then I'm not making the prophetic drink. Then I would just eat them like that. People have asked, what about if you have diabetes or any of these type of things? When you have any pre-existing condition, you always consult with your physician. So because we're not able to give any medical information over the internet without knowing your medical history,
right.
What your previous history is like. So I would never, the same thing with anyone who's pregnant. I would always say, whatever condition you have, you always consult with your physician. And if I'm working with someone privately, I consult with their physician. So
nice. Very nice.
So that's, we always want to have safety first, because something is good, it may not be good for you. So
Right.
For the most part, most people don't have an issue with ajwa dates, but that always, there's always that one person that, their body can't tolerate it. So then they, can do something else.
Right, right. There's lots of different, we're just talking about the prophetic
Yes. Yes.
ideal, or,
Yes. But
what's
it's a question that
available.
comes up often.
Yeah, yeah.
People ask for specifics. And, I always have to say that, without a proper full assessment, it would really be unsafe for myself and the person to give them any, specific advice or or anything that has any medical, connection.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, for especially diabetics, right? Because the sugar
Mhm.
content, it's a
And people are
difficult.
at different ages, people are at different
Sure,
levels of
sure,
their, conditions. So, there's too many
sure,
variables.
sure. Wow. So this has been fascinating. And so far we've talked about food, drink, spirituality, lifestyle, the Hija. How about your work outside of all of it? Well, it's all connected, I know, but you do some fascinating work in other countries. Would you like to tell us a little bit about that, and
Sure,
any way we can help? Because you do
sure.
some really interesting but very necessary work for new Muslims.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
So we have efforts that we work with communities, and I've been working with the communities of Muslim communities in Cuba since 2016, Southern Mexico and Chiapas since 2015. We've traveled to the Dominican Republic twice. We've
Wow.
traveled to Sao Paulo, Brazil, as well as most recently to Panama. Just before the pandemic, we were on a Dawa trip to Cuba, Panama, and the Dominican Republic as the pandemic was hitting, and we had to
Whoa.
come back early.
Wow.
So my day to day right now, with everything going on in Cuba, I'm in constant contact every day with all of our brothers and sisters, our main brothers and sisters in the different provinces. Provinces are like cities,
Mhm.
making sure that things are okay for them, that they are safe, that they have food, that, because of the situation there is very dire, but, that's for a whole nother show.
Yeah, right, right.
So for the most part, we do convert care. We do retreats, knowledge retreats in the different countries. We provide books. We have translated the book Being Muslim by Asad Tarsin in Spanish as well as in Portuguese.
Wow.
So we try to distribute the books in person and then give classes regarding that book. So we're actually covering up a text with them. We provide aid during Ramadan, whether it be, food packs. Right now, we're doing some Eid slaughters in Cuba throughout the island. That was
That's
like
the
by Allah
Qurbani
that we
sacrifice.
pulled, yes, by Allah that we pulled that off. That we will be able to provide that service for the communities there. And also for just really being a connection to knowledge and the outside world, that we do care about them and that they do have brothers and sisters that they can reach out to in a time of need, whether it just be a question on a family matter or a question about the faith. It's really just being a resource for them. And I travel there regularly. Obviously, during the pandemic, I didn't get to travel there. My last trip was March of 2020. But otherwise, when it's not the pandemic, I travel to one of these countries 1 to 2 times per year, and generally try to spend time with them during Ramadan and these key months so that they feel uplifted and connected to the greater community outside of their small
Yeah.
country that is 99.9% not Muslim.
Yeah. So do you find that they go through similar trials and tribulations that new Muslims do here, or what are the similarities, differences? That's so interesting
The
to me.
differences, I mean, alhamdulillah, throughout COVID, I mean, we've had the most amount of new Muslims come through Instagram. So,
Really? Well, your
oh yeah,
Instagram page
yeah, we have new
will do
shahad
that.
we have new shahadas
Wow.
through Instagram throughout COVID, and it was like the
Wow.
first time I really worked with, let's just say, American converts. For the
Mhm.
most part, the work had been outside of the United States in Spanish speaking or Portuguese speaking countries, but the biggest difficulty they have is the lack of resources. They don't have anywhere they can go buy halal. They
Halal
don't
meat.
have anywhere they can go buy hijabs. They don't have anywhere that they
Wow.
can
Yeah.
get a
Basic.
kufi. They don't have
Or
these.
modest clothing,
Right,
probably. Like
right.
what
So
you're.
their limitations are the resources and also
Mhm.
knowledge.
So it's hard for them to sort of start the lifestyle like outwardly,
It's
for
harder.
example.
It's harder
Yeah.
because, people can be well intentioned, but they don't have really a structure of learning because they don't have access. They don't have, that endless amount of internet access or to
Yeah.
classes.
That's
Video is difficult. People don't always, everyone has a cell
yeah.
phone, but most people don't have a computer. Many places, internet is just so expensive to what
Yes.
they make.
We don't
So,
think about these things here. We just
mhm.
we just assume, oh, we're gonna,
Mhm.
when we talked about watching things on YouTube, it's just sort of a
No,
given.
in third world countries, especially in a non-Muslim country, no, it doesn't. It's just not doesn't work that way. Like in
Yeah.
Cuba, no one has a computer. Like that's
Let
just,
alone let
yeah,
alone the phone that is able to
right,
provide
right.
videos
Well,
and things
they're
like
not going to have the Wi-Fi strength to watch a video.
right, right,
So,
right,
so we
right.
have to
Exactly.
basically download lessons onto like hard drives, old school style, to
And
bring
take
it so that
them
somebody
to
can, with the one computer that
one
somebody has,
computer
so
and
that
show
everybody
it.
can watch it in like the musalla or something like that.
Wow. But so it must be very communal once that does happen. It must
Yes,
be,
yes. So the
you
small
know,
communities are very together. They do, they're always in their little musallas. There's maybe one, two actual mosques, but they're, the real only mosque, say in Cuba, is in Havana. But for the most part, in all of these countries, everyone has like a small musalla, very simple, very humble.
mhm.
Everyone sits on the floor to eat. There's no tables and chairs and all of that. I mean, all
Yeah.
the things that we have. I mean, they actually practice the sunnah more naturally because that's the way they live.
Right. I was in Chiapas in 95, way before I was Muslim. I was
Oh,
there
wow.
studying. I was studying in Yucatan, and then I don't know. I just read about Chiapas, and I'm like that. If I read about something and I have this gut feeling, I just need to go.
Hmm.
And then most of my um, classmates decided to come too, so it was great. But it was a
Wonderful.
17-hour trip from Yucatan to Chiapas, and there was something magical about that place. It is so beautiful, but geographically, but the people were some of the most humble people I've ever met
Mhm.
in my entire all my travels.
Well,
There's
in southern
very
Mexico, they're more from indigenous
right,
tribes,
right,
Mayan
right.
tribes. So many don't even speak English; they speak Mayan dialects.
Exactly. And what I remember very, very clearly was that the church that I remember coming down from a, trip up to the mountains and then coming back down, I saw the church in the far away, but I could still see what was going on. And there were people pouring out of the church because there were so many people in it. And many of them were just they were probably, it was a part of mass where they were kneeling, and they were
Hmm.
just kneeling on the ground outside. And I just remember thinking what religious people they are,
Hmm.
what humble servants of God they are, because they were so dedicated
Yeah, they're
to the
very, very Catholic. But the Mayan tribes would have another a variation of
sure, sure,
Christianity.
sure. But I was really intrigued by that, and I
Hmm.
thought, it was much more religious than I had expected or had seen anywhere else. And it showed in the character of the people that they were
Hmm.
just very kind and very gentle. And, I always took that away from that trip, that not the
Yeah, they
food,
will
nothing
crack your
else.
heart open. And the
Yes,
Muslims, they didn't become
yes.
Muslim till about 96. That was the first group of Muslims the first group that became Muslim was in 96, and it just exploded over that year.
I could see where the people would be sort of ripe for being interested in Islam there.
Yeah.
I could see that. I could see
Yes,
that they were.
people came from Spain and gave them
Yeah.
dawah, and then that's how they all converted.
Yeah, but there seems to be a very openness to be
Yes.
Connected to God, and
Yes,
I felt
yes,
that very strongly there.
Yes,
You know,
100%.
yeah. So it's really interesting when you said you were in Chiapas. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense to me because the people were just wonderful. I mean, they've always left an imprint in my memory.
They are beautiful people.
May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect and preserve them
Ameen,
and
ameen.
make it easy for them. I know it can't be particularly easy at all. I've seen pictures that you share. And so what are the ways that any of us could help with what you're doing? I mean, do you take book donations or like
usually I fundraise privately just because we keep it very low key. People can reach me directly if they're interested in any of the efforts, but I try to keep it very low key because I prefer not to exploit the people.
Definitely.
And, alhamdulillah, I've never had to do a launch good or anything like that. So alhamdulillah for the amazing people that I've gone to Umrah and Hajj with, they're for the most part, most of the donors. And I like to do it privately because Allah tells us, we want to do things, our charity in secret and keep it private. So we try to keep it as low key as possible. So anyone that would be interested in knowing more about any of the efforts, they're welcome to, message me on Instagram or on Facebook. I can explain.
Okay, that's great. So we all know where to reach you. And I'm going to, once this is over, I will add links to your Instagram in the comments.
Thank you.
And if anybody has any other questions, people are just giving us lots of comments here that they've, que Dios te bendiga.
Alhamdulillah.
Friends too.
Ameen.
Ameen, inshallah. Yes, we have that common Puerto Rican connection.
Yes,
so I think that was I think you were the first and the only Puerto Rican friend that I know who's Muslim.
Aww.
Yeah. And probably somewhere down the line we're related, I bet, because the island is very small. You look like relatives of mine. So when I see you, I feel
alhamdulillah. Beautiful.
Your family,
the souls are connected.
Yeah, definitely. There's something to that. So I could talk to you for hours, but I know our time is up and you've been very generous with your time. You're very busy. And I thank you so much. Welcome. I hope we can do this again and the next level. I'm going to catch up with all the books you recommended and, just kind of do some research and stay connected to you and hopefully keep going on my own personal journey. So I hope that many others will also find their paths as well. And we're here to kind of give the resources if people want to start somewhere. So anything else you want to add, Zainab?
Just, if you're not and haven't been paying attention to this month, watch Imam Omar Suleiman's series. He's loads of different episode each day. Try to, make sure that you're praying on time in these days. Try to fast, recite abundant, Allahu Akbar, Alhamdulillah, La ilaha illallah, Subhanallah, make dua, give charity, even if it's $1 in these days. Remember the people that are in Hajj, watch the Hajj live on YouTube, perform as many good deeds as you can in these days, spend time with your family, and remember to do your Eid sacrifice, inshallah, if it's incumbent on you, and also attend the Eid prayer, because those who attend the Eid prayer of Eid al-Adha get the reward of that like a Hajj. Now, it doesn't replace you going to Hajj, and it's not like being at Hajj, but you get the reward of like a Hajj.
And alhamdulillah, this year, I think we'll be able to go to the masjid and do that. I'm a little nervous about it in the sense
here in New York, we do them, and it's always been like that. There's so many people, they do them in a big like ball field or a school track or something like that. So we do them outdoors.
Yeah, which is nice, which is nice.
Mhm.
And now here in San Diego, they're asking people to bring their own prayer
Prayer
mats,
mat.
which I
Yes,
think is a
yes,
brilliant idea.
yes,
No matter,
yes,
even before COVID, I would see
yes,
people bringing them, and I
yes.
think that's really
Yeah,
smart.
yeah, yeah.
Why not?
Of
So I
course.
think there's inshallah, we are getting through this pandemic and getting to the other side,
Mhm.
and we'll be able to finally see people on Eid, which is amazing. I'm
Yes,
really looking
inshallah.
forward to that. So
Inshallah. Jazakallah khair.
Jazakallah khair to you. Thank you so much.
Hayaki. You're
Hayaki. And
welcome.
thank you, and have an awesome rest of your day. And I
You
look
as
forward
well.
to your next Instagram post. Now
Thank you.
I'm just soaking it all in and hoping that I can replicate a little part of it every day. I love you, Zainab. Thank you
Love
so
you
much.
too. Salam
Assalamu
alaikum.
alaikum. Alaikum salam.